You are listening to episode 60 of the Let's Go Comic Show. On this episode, we go back in time to Comic-Con Revolution. This is episode number 60 of the Let's Go Comic Show. My name is Justin, and I am by myself. We weren't able to record an episode this week, but I was like, you know what? I got something in the pocket. So we've been sitting on a panel we did at Comic-Con Revolution in May, and we did that with Andy DiGenova from Holy Batcast, and it was me and Matt representing Batman-On-Film and the Let's Go Comic Show. And we just talked about Batman in cinema, and so we have this audio for you right now. Just a little FYI, the audio quality isn't 100% great, but you can hear it and understand it, and it was a good time just talking about Batman and where he's been at through all his iterations in cinematic history. But before we get there, I just want to thank you again for downloading the show. I encourage you to go check us out on patreon.com/letsgopodcast. That way you can go on over there and help support the show. And if you're like, hey, I don't have any dollars, I got no money, head on over to letsgocast.com and you can just click on a link right there on the front page and leave us a review on iTunes. It'd be fantastic to give us 5 stars, but don't just click 5 stars. Write a little blurb about how much you love us. Oh man, I love comics and I love podcasts and I love when they come together like an Oreo cookie. We are the Oreo cookie of comic book podcasts. So let people know. Go ahead and do that for us. And then if you're feeling, hey, I got some extra cash in my pocket, click on merch and buy a t-shirt, a pillow, whatever you want with some Let's Go merch on it. And then you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Let's Go Comic Show. And thank you so much. And I will stop talking and just get on with the show.
All right, everybody, how you guys doing? We are excited to talk about Batman in cinema. And yeah, right, give it up for Batman! He's obviously our favorite superhero. Before we start, I just want to give everybody kind of an intro to who everybody is here. I'm going to start all the way to my left with Mr. Matt Ritchie. How you doing, Matt?
Doing all right. How are you guys doing?
Where are you from?
I'm from Riverside, California.
Hey, what show are you from? Or exactly?
Oh, sorry. I thought we were location-based. That's my bad. I'm part of the Let's Go Comic Show, weekly podcast where we talk about comics.
That's one of the
best comics.
The best comic book podcast there is.
It's pretty good.
Subscribe today. All right, and then in the middle here of this delicious sandwich of awesomeness is Mr. Andy DiGenova from Holy Batcast. How you doing? Now you can't even share what you're doing. Talk about your show.
Easy enough. There you go. Hi everybody. I'm from Holy Batcast. It is a weekly podcast about all DC Comics, but mostly Batman. And it's been going on a couple years now. And can't get enough talking about Batman, hence why I am here today. And hopefully you guys can't hear enough about Batman, because otherwise you're in the wrong room.
There you go. And then my name is Justin Kowalski, and I am representing Batman-On-Film today. Batman-On-Film is celebrating its 20th year of recording on Batman in cinema and also other DC comic-related characters. So to start off, let's just jump into Batman. So Batman has been one of the biggest icons in like cinematic history, going all the way back you can go to the serials, but we'll talk mostly about Adam West in the 1960s, all the way up into Michael Keaton, Val Kilmer, George Clooney, Christian Bale, and then Ben Affleck, right? We forget anybody? And obviously Kevin Conroy, who's here today, right? Everyone who loves Kevin Conroy. Yeah. Kevin Conroy, is he like one of your favorite Batman? Room noise? Yeah. We got a guy in the back going, no way. All right, so we'll just start off. What's one of our favorite cinematic interpretations of Batman? Andy?
I am a Michael Keaton guy. I love almost all the Batman, but Michael Keaton was the time. I mean, that was when I fell in love with Batman as a character, and so he was my kind of intro. So I will always have a sentimental part of my heart for Michael Keaton's Batman.
Yeah.
And it's Batman '89 was the. I always say that I dated Batman up until that summer. And that was when we got married for life. And so now it's all Batman all the time ever since the summer of 1989.
Yeah.
So that's not to take anything away from some of the other great Batman, but Michael Keaton is what Yeah, he was my first, and you never forget your first.
Matt, what about you, Doug?
I mean, I really go back to, I know it's goofy as hell, but Adam West, when you go to Batman 66,
Yeah.
it's just, for me, it encapsulated Batman well for me as a kid before I even knew anything about the comics. And so, obviously, I think Batman is one of those that you can adapt to a lot of different styles, a lot of different stories. But that for me is just like one of those first memories, like you're talking about Batman. I think just the show, getting that movie, watching it over and over with my grandpa, and yeah.
Yeah, I would say I'm more like Andy. Michael Keaton was Batman to me. There was something magical about summer of '89. Who here in the room was around in '89? There's a lot of youngers here, but yeah, there we go. That was awesome, right? Like, you couldn't, not awesome? Not for you, man. For me, I remember hanging around like Seal Beach, California, and beach towels everywhere. You could not like get a tan on the beach without laying on a Batman beach towel or getting Batman symbols shaved in your head. Like everywhere you would go.
Go to Taco Bell.
Taco Bell would be like, hey, you want a Batman taco? I still have my cups from Taco Bell when it looked like Batman, the Batmobile, and Prince, that Prince record, that's just like one of the best Prince records. And, just talking about Prince. So Batman '89 was really special to me.
That was my first cassette tape.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
The Prince Batman soundtrack. So it was my very first tape. I got it at Kmart in Lockport, Illinois. I saved up my money and bought that thing. And because it was the only tape and it was Batman,
yeah,
I listened to only that tape for probably a good year, driving my parents and siblings crazy. But I know it verbatim.
Vicky Waiting, huh?
Vicky Waiting, yeah.
That's the track right there.
Absolutely. Why is your organ so small?
Oh, hey, there you go. So everybody look into those lyrics.
If you know the song, you're like, what the hell are you talking about? Look it up. It's a jam.
Vicky Waiting. A hidden gem of a jam. So yeah, Batman '89, there's just something about the specialness of that. And I still don't think we hit that again. I mean, in 2008, we kind of got that excitement with The Dark Knight. They did a lot of cool like social media experiments with that. You guys remember that? I was getting phone calls from the Joker. Like, anybody get involved in any of that stuff for Dark Knight? When that movie came out, it was this experience where you would go online, you would go to websites, and you would be looking for like information about villains and stuff, and you'd put your information in. I remember like my phone was ringing, and it was from an unknown caller. So sometimes I wouldn't get those because people are trying to like sell me on insurance or something. But it's the Joker, and he's torturing somebody, and it was all part of this big like elaborate like presentation to get you pumped for the movie, and it was really cool. Like even at Comic-Con that year, they were sending coordinates, and you would go and find hidden like dollar bills and stuff with Joker's faces on them. And so they did some really cool like promotions for that movie. You guys remember any of that?
Yeah, I remember they had. I think the website you had to go to, and every time someone went to it or did something on there, it unlocked a part of that first image of Heath Ledger's Joker.
Yeah, that was an amazing build.
A lot of anticipation building up for that one.
Still didn't meet the excitement of Batman '89. I don't know.
It wasn't quite the same. Like they always say that Batmania happened 3 times. It happened in 1966.
Yeah.
It happened in 1989, and then it happened in 2008. But even though The Dark Knight was this cultural phenomenon in 2008, it still didn't quite have the everywhere aspect that 1989 did. Like 1989, all anyone talked about was Batman all summer long.
Yeah.
And 2008, Batman had to share the spotlight a little bit in 2008, but it was almost there, and so. Yeah. But I remember all those really innovative social media scavenger hunts for the marketing for The Dark Knight, and I just was happy to let the more committed fans do the work for me. And I just waited for the stuff to show up because I was like, all right, God bless the people out there doing the scavenger hunt. I'll just keep refreshing my webpage, and I'll see the picture when it's ready.
Yeah, that was a fun time, and it was a great way to get people excited for the movie. So, all right, so let's talk about the good of Batman. We talked about Adam West a little bit. Any Adam West fans in here? That was a very decisive era because there was a lot of. I remember growing up. Adam West was my first Batman, where I'd say my favorite Batman era was Michael Keaton because it just grabbed me. I grew up on Adam West, and for a while there was a lot of people hating on Adam West, like, oh, it's not real, it's not true to like who Batman is, but I really feel like it is true. I think all of Batman counts. everything from like 1939 all the way to now, everything that has been written on the page and has been adapted to whatever, like video, cartoons, animations, it all counts. And I think Adam West, and that whole team behind that really saved Batman. Batman was on the verge of cancellation in the comics at that time, so they didn't take a chance on just make this like tongue-in-cheek kind of cheesy TV show. Like, where would Batman be today? So, any thoughts on Batman and Adam West?
Oh, well, I was guilty of that, especially in 1989 when Batman 89 was coming out, as I kind of rejected Batman 66 because I was like, oh, that's silly, that's goofy. And I was a little kid, I didn't know any better. I was like, I was just trying to be cool. And so I was like, no, that's a dumb Batman. The Batman in the movies is the cool Batman. And I love that as fandom, the pendulum has swung back where we can go, no, Adam West Batman is awesome for what it is. It knows what it is. It's self-aware, and it did a very unique take on the character, and it was awesome for what it is. Adam West is a legit Batman, and that doesn't mean, we've gotten past where you have to choose one. Yeah, we can be greedy and go, I love them all, and that's totally okay, which is pretty much where I fall. Pretty much. There's some exceptions, but mostly I love them all. But yeah, I didn't get it when I was little. I didn't get that Batman 66 knew what it was. Yeah. I thought that it was goofy unintentionally, and it wasn't until I grew up and watched it and was like, oh, they know what they're doing. They get it. They're in on the joke, and that's what makes it so good. And I think that's Adam West, what made him such a great Batman, is he could play it straight, but you could tell he was still in on it. He had this perfect balance between being very earnest, but at the same time, letting you know that he was in on it. So he was terrific.
Yeah, it's more like the contextual goofiness of it, where he and Robin and Alfred, you have all of these serious expressions and reactions to all of this just crazy bananas stuff happening around them. And I think it's that self-awareness that kind of helps me get into any story, whether Batman or not. I think there's a lot of room to enjoy things more when we're all in on this. Which I would argue for, and is totally picking a fight right now, is I think when you think about the Joel Schumacher era, that's weird. When you think of that, I think I look back now, because again, at the same time, I was always on the bandwagon, just man, this sucks. Why are they making Batman so goofy? But now I'm it's kind of similar to a Batman 66 kind of vibe for me, because I'm it's so dumb and fun. I think they knew exactly what they were doing, and if it's not for you, it's totally cool. I don't think it needs to be, but this is where I pick fights with Justin right here. This is where this happens.
I feel like Andy's going to be on my side with this.
So I probably am. But I think your point is valid in that the Schumacher films, I don't like them. I'll be honest, but you look at them, you see what they're doing. It was an intentional thing.
Oh yeah, they're not good.
Yeah, it doesn't mean it doesn't mean they're not valid. To Justin's point, every interpretation of Batman is valid. It's just as to what speaks to your personal tastes. Yeah. And I think that Schumacher trying to do a throwback to Batman 66, times had changed, and it just didn't work the way it did in the middle of this pop culture movement in the 60s, trying to do it in the 90s, especially once we had already seen what else Batman could be. That's why I think it didn't quite gel. But it doesn't mean it wasn't intentional, Yeah.
And I think in the 60s, they were really going for that, we're going to hit the kids somewhere, but we're going to hit the adults somewhere else. With the Schumacher films, I just think they were trying to sell toys. It was a Happy Meal commercial, is all that movie was. And I'm not going to say that there wasn't some good parts. I think there was some definitely cool designs and stuff that were part of those films. So I don't want to discount any of the hard work that was put into making these movies, but it just didn't have the heart. Adam West had heart, and I think Tim Burton's had vision, but I don't think the Schumacher films had heart.
It was a much more hollow exercise in making it more commercial on a very surface level.
Yeah, definitely didn't make it. I'm so glad they made those Schumacher films. Now, I always wish and kind of wonder, what would have happened if they ever made, there was this rumor of Batman Triumphant, were they ever going to make that movie? You always hear those rumors, and sometimes rumors are better than the ending product. So Batman 89 in Batman Returns. We didn't talk about that. Andy is representing the opinion today with his
Oswald for mayor.
Oswald for mayor.
I support him.
I would have voted, man.
I think he's what we need right now.
You know, he's what we need. Exactly what we need right now.
Yeah, I'll just leave it there.
Yeah, we'll leave it there. We pretty much
Write your own joke.
Yeah.
Right there.
So those are two different movies. That's with what Burton did. It was like '89 was the studio film, and in 1992 when he did Returns, that's the Burton film right there. And just kind of like get a temperature here. Who's a fan of Batman Returns? Anybody in here? Yeah. I love Batman Returns.
Yeah.
I know it's out of like, I get, Penguin's a mutant Birdman, Catwoman's just this weird like secretary who got brought back to life by cats, but there's something about that movie
I still say it's a metaphoric resurrection. I don't think she's dead. We can argue about it. I don't think she actually died. I think it was a metaphor.
There you go.
She was a near-death experience that changed her. She wasn't actually dead.
That's deep.
That's the way I take it.
Okay, I can buy that.
Yeah.
I had never even thought about it like that, but I'll buy that. That's good.
I've talked about that movie a lot.
No, I love Batman Returns.
We love Batman Returns, but it's one of those movies where if you don't like it, I 100% get it.
Yeah.
Because the movie is completely banana balls. You're either on board or you're not on board. And if you're not on board, I get it.
That needs to be on the re-release if they do like just another like director's cut or something. Yeah. Like it's banana balls.
Put that on the cover. Andy DiGenova, this movie is banana balls. You're either in or you're out.
Yeah. That's funny. So, okay. Batman Returns, to me, I think this is where it wins. I like the studio. I like the design, the set design. I know you can tell it's shot on a set. The music, I think the score is better for this next one. Yeah. I think even the costume's better. The whole thing is just a big, it's just weird. It's like an Elseworld. If you're familiar with Elseworlds, it feels like that Elseworld's Batman tale. And it's my yearly Christmas film. I watch it every year at Christmas time. And so should you.
I do too. I'm with you. It's right there with Die Hard and Gremlins, Batman Returns.
Yeah,
what I love is that Batman,
classic family Christmas.
all the best Christmas movies.
Yeah.
And now Krampus in there. But like that's the thing is in 1992, like I'm not going to rewrite history. It did not go over the way Batman '89 did. Like check the tape, of course not. Like, and that's why they swung back too far in the other direction in 1995. So in 1992, a lot of people were like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
This is not Batman '89. It's weird, it's bizarre, it's creepy, it's dark, and it didn't go over with a lot of people. However, I feel like time has been kinder to it because every Christmas I can find a screening of it somewhere in the greater Los Angeles area. And I go, of course. But like, they don't do screenings for movies that people hate. So I think that now, 25 years removed, it has its fan base. There's still plenty of people who don't like it, but it has a fan base that they can do these screenings and people show up.
Yeah. No, definitely. And I think there's just something about, it's iconic. Michelle Pfeiffer is iconic as Catwoman. People still, like, if they're ever casting a new Catwoman in the future, they're going to go back and say, oh, what did you think about Michelle Pfeiffer? I mean, y'all think about that stitched costume. I mean, in the recent Batman comic, they even did a kind of a, I don't know, not a salute, but they wrote it into the tape of that costume. And so it still exists in the public, like, oh yeah, that's what Catwoman looks like. They would probably say, I would say they would say Michelle Pfeiffer over Anne Hathaway.
Right? I mean, if you can deliver a line like "stupid corn dog" and get away with it, just
stupid corn dog.
There are quite a few lines that she manages to sell that on paper are not good lines.
Yeah.
But I am Catwoman, hear me roar. That should not work. But Michelle Pfeiffer makes it work. She kills it.
And she put a bird in her mouth. If anybody remembers, that was a real bird she put in her mouth. That's gross. You have birds in your mouth. It's a great way to get sick.
That's a perfect do not do this at home.
Don't put birds in your mouth. So we kind of did a Tarantino. We went a little backwards. So we'll jump into the Schumacher era. That was exactly what Andy was saying. It was a direct response to Batman Returns. McDonald's was not happy about having Happy Meals for a penguin who's spitting goo.
Yeah, that black goo coming out of their toy was just weird.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. They never made a black goo toy. They totally should have. I feel like now that the fan base is around, like, let's get that penguin, penguin black goo toy. Like, make it happen, everybody.
McDonald's should have had black ketchup for the fries.
Oh my God, that would be great. That would be great. Yeah. So let's get into the Schumacher era. So the one thing that made me excited was they were bringing Robin in. I was like, oh, we're finally going to get Robin. And I think that was it. You know, I guess back then Jim Carrey kind of made me excited because I think everyone loved Jim Carrey in 1995. It was like who?
Yeah, he was kind of in his prime.
Yeah, that was it. I mean, this was the pinnacle of his career. I think after like Ace Ventura, it was like, all right.
It's funny because speaking of rewriting history, like you watch the extras on the Blu-ray, and Joel Schumacher. Even though I don't like his Batman movies, I freaking love that guy. He is so fun to listen to. He's so upfront about everything that happened with those movies. However, he did say he goes, yeah. If now it looks like our cast was all stars, but in 1995 it wasn't. I was like, what? That's not true. Like you had 2 Ace Ventura movies, you had Dumb and Dumber, you had The Mask, and then you had Batman Forever. So no, Jim Carrey was hot as hot can be.
Yeah.
Tommy Lee Jones just won the Oscar for The Fugitive. He was hot. Nicole Kidman was a huge star.
She's just hot.
Also extremely hot. I will say
Michael Goff,
one of my favorite. Yeah, Pat Hingle has never been hotter than when he was in Batman Forever.
I feel like Robin Williams was supposed to be up for the Riddler. I mean, that's not really the rumor. I think it's kind of a verified like fact. Like he was up for Riddler, and I think Jim Carrey kind of like stole that thunder because if you can get Jim Carrey in 1995, I mean that's where you're going to go. But it's kind of a missed opportunity, don't you think?
Yeah, well, there is the whole story of they used Robin Williams as bait to get Jack Nicholson to sign on as the Joker in 1989. Yeah. So Jack Nicholson was waffling, and they were like, "Oh, yeah, you know what? That's fine. We got Robin Williams in the wings. He can do it." And Jack Nicholson's like, "Okay, fine, I'll do it." Yeah. And then he made enough money to buy a damn country.
Yeah.
But Robin Williams, that was always like a sore spot that they used him that way. And so it was almost like the consolation of like, well, you know what, you'll get to be the Riddler.
Yeah.
And it would have been great. I think it would have been amazing casting.
It would have been great.
But I think that when the shift from Burton to Schumacher happened, Schumacher wanted a younger, hipper, cooler cast. So
Tommy Lee Jones, you can't get any younger or hipper. Tommy Lee Jones.
He's as cool as they get. But as far as like, so Robin Williams went out, Jim Carrey was in, Rene Russo went out, Nicole Kidman was in. And that was where that shift happened. But yeah, I always dream in my quiet moments about Batman 3 that had Michael Keaton, Rene Russo, Robin Williams, Billy D. Williams. That could have been awesome.
Now speaking of Billy D. Williams, he finally got his opportunity to play Two-Face in the Lego movie, the Lego Batman movie. A few lines, but it was really cool to see that. You're like, finally, I got my Billy D. Williams action figure as Two-Face. So go get that one.
Better late than never.
Worth it. Yeah. Good old Billy D. Williams. So Batman Forever. I know Andy's not a huge fan of it, right? Is that safe to say?
I'm not. It is.
How do you guys feel about Batman Forever in here?
Bat nipples.
Yeah, Batman. We got Bat Nipple fans. There you go. Hashtag Bat Nipples.
I'll support the Bat Nipples. I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
That's all right.
It's anatomically correct. All right. I feel that movie made a lot of money. I mean, it really connected with people. If it was happening now, it probably would have made like $1 billion. Like if you adjusted for inflation. It's fair to say.
I don't know how those numbers work.
$1 million feels high, but it was a hit.
Yeah, it was definitely a hit.
It was a small bounce back from Returns. Returns made 162 domestic. Forever did 185. So
okay, there you go.
They made an extra 20 mil.
There you go. And I still have those cups from McDonald's, the glass cups. You know.
Oh, I use them daily.
Yeah, they're still there. I got my Robin face and my Riddler cup. I mean,
I still have the soundtrack. Does that count?
Yeah, it's
still?
good.
One of the best soundtracks of all time. Pretty much. Kiss from a Rose, right?
Thank you, Seal. Yes.
Yeah.
Who got married and played that song at their wedding? Be honest. Be honest. Nobody? Oh my gosh. That's how true love stays together is Kiss from a Rose.
I wanted to, but then
This
I
lady in the back
got
was
married. I would have, she vetoed that.
Oh, she did?
But Bat Dance was on the reception playlist.
There you go. So,
Take the wins where you can.
So let's get into Batman Forever. Let's talk about, is there any good that you like from Batman Forever?
Me?
Yeah, come on. And you can say no.
No,
All that honesty.
I think that in the film itself, the Robin stuff probably holds up best.
Yeah.
The rest of it, not so much. But I think that like for 1995, we're doing a cinematic Robin. I like the Robin suit.
Yeah.
He was a little too old, but I get it. I don't hold that too hard against them.
Mm-hmm.
They did a version of the comic origin, so that's what I'm most forgiving of.
Okay.
Is I think the Dick Grayson stuff, and I think part of it is like you. I'm a huge Dick Grayson fan. I'm a huge Robin fan, so I was just excited that we were finally getting Robin.
Yeah. That pump. I remember seeing the trailer And they had the Tim Burton score playing, and they had this shot of Robin. Because back then, there's no internet to like look at this stuff and set leaks, so that was like my first like viewing of Robin. He's on a gargoyle, Burton music going, and I'm like, Robin's coming, and then he turned out to be like 25.
Yeah.
But,
I'm adopting this grown man.
yes, war. It's like, just leave. He's like, no, you must stay with me. Here's a motorcycle. All right, that's gonna be pretty safe. All right, Matt, what do you think about Batman Forever?
I think the Mr. Free stuff is good fodder just in casual conversation.
Oh,
Throwing ice puns. You
mean Batman and Robin?
Oh, sorry,
I say Batman Forever.
It's the same movie. Sorry, I didn't say movie, buddy.
Yeah.
It starts to blend
It's a
together.
common mistake. They're the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the same thing. I would say the Dick Grayson stuff stands up well because I think just that connection that he and Batman have over their origin stories, I think that translated well, even though they changed some key elements. I think, but I honestly like. The soundtrack comes back to me, and then everything else kind of becomes a blur. I'm like, yeah, this is my happy place.
I like Robin taking the Batmobile. That was kind of fun.
How do you feel about Val Kilmer taking over stuff?
I was just going to get to that. Yeah, I thought Val Kilmer was a Batman. I mean, he had this
He was a guy.
suit. His Bruce Wayne, to me, kind of boring. He was kind of dull. He didn't have much going on for him.
When you watch the movie
Mhm.
and you watch his performance, I use the word performance very loosely. He just feels like he's just getting through it.
Yeah.
Like he's like, if I do this thing, it's going to help my career. So
Yeah.
just get through it.
Yeah.
He doesn't seem into it.
Yeah. He definitely was, hey, you can wear a mask.
Yeah.
You know, like, I know that there's a story of Joel Schumacher drawing a Batman mask on George Clooney. I'm wondering if that's the same casting they did with Val Kilmer. Like, hey, this will work. So, all right, so we get into Batman and Robin. There's not a whole... No one really wants to talk about Batman and Robin.
The
There's really nothing
universally
there.
beloved Batman and Robin.
But it did give birth to the Nolan films. So in between, there was a whole bunch of different things they were trying to get to. There was like the rumored Batman Beyond with like Keanu Reeves. There was a Batman and Superman.
Yeah.
There was a Batman Super with Wolfgang Peterson was supposed to direct with Batman and Superman going at it. It was Jude Law and Colin Farrell were supposed to be cast. And so a whole bunch of things Warner Brothers trying to figure out what they were doing. So they ended up landing on Christopher Nolan doing Batman Begins. Oh, before that, there was a year one. And who was doing that again? Darren Aronofsky. Yeah, and it was, if you can read, there's a script or a treatment online, and it's bananas. Like Batman,
It's bizarre.
he's on the street, he works in the garage with Alfred. It's a really, you're like, thankfully we didn't make this movie. It'd be great if they made like an animated version. Like, hey, here's a weird, like, something could happen, they should do like that. But yeah, so we get to the Christopher Nolan films, and it was definitely like about 9 years removed, and Christian Bale was kind of like a fan choice, and that movie I know Batman '89 is my favorite like Batman like feeling and movie, but I think like, and that sounds weird, my favorite Batman movie, but Batman Begins is my favorite Batman film. I don't know if that makes any sense. I really loved the way they explored the origins of Batman and Bruce Wayne and going on like traveling the world and learning like ninjutsu, because you never get that. You never see that stuff. And so where are we at with Batman Begins, everybody in here? Make some noise. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Little guy. All right. He's doing this. All right. That's cool. And that's okay. That's the thing. What's great about Batman is he's for everybody, and not everything he does is for everybody, but there's something for everybody with Batman. So where are you guys at on Batman Begins?
Oh man, I was so excited to see this movie. I remember I actually didn't go to a lot of IMAX movies at that time, and I made sure to see it the first time in IMAX. I wanted to see this movie at the full potential I could actually see it, and I walked out of that movie really happy and really excited.
Yeah.
I mean, they leave you at the end of that Joker tease. I'm like, holy crap! I get to see more of this, but with like the Joker. Like, please, like, how soon can I get this?
Yeah.
I think watching it back now and seeing within the context of the three movies, I think some more like maybe like little issues pop up for me.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, like that could have been. But man, what it accomplished for me and for everyone I knew, at least, of just reigniting that excitement to see Batman on the screen again. That was awesome.
Yeah. There was a lot of people thinking it was a prequel to Batman '89. I remember that. There's like people that just weren't. Did anyone think it was a prequel? Anybody in here? No? Like, we get it. We're like savvy. Like, as fans, we just know. But there was a lot of people like, I thought the Joker killed Batman's parents. Like, who's this Joe Chill cat? You know, like, it's just like, well, then you have to explain. And then I think this was actually the first reboot.
The first, yes,
Yeah.
real true reboot.
Yeah. And then James Bond kind of followed after that. But yeah, this was the first reboot.
And now Spider-Man has like 8 reboots.
Yeah, dude, he's got Batman. Batman is no longer the king of reboots. It's Spider-Man. So, Andy, where were you at with Batman Begins?
Well, it's funny because before Batman Begins was released, I was looking forward to it, but it wasn't like with this frenzied excitement that I usually get. And I don't know if that was just a hangover from Batman and Robin or what, but going to see it in the theater, I walked out like walking on air because it just blew me away. It blew my mind. I agree with you. Batman '89 is my sentimental favorite, but Batman Begins, I still think is probably the best Batman movie ever made.
Yeah.
We'll talk about Dark Knight. Dark Knight's great too, but like Batman Begins is my favorite of those of the Nolan trilogy, and it could just be because when I went in with like pretty just no huge expectations, and it exceeded everything I thought it would be. And I walked out being like, holy crap, that was amazing. And I drug so many people to see it that summer in 2005. It blew my mind of how good it was. So,
I think it did something different too, in that like Batman, like one of the greatest things about him as a character is that he stands the test of time because he can fit into almost any context, it feels like. Like you see even in the last year, you have like Batman Ninja, Gotham by Gaslight. You have all of these different kind of stories that Batman, everyone kind of like just usually is like, yeah, we'll roll with it, like let's do it. Yeah. And I think that's one of the biggest things that Nolan's films in general did, but specifically Batman Begins. It's like, okay, here's this whole different context that most of you guys haven't seen him in. Like you just look at just straight up adventure, like Dark Knight, you look at like just this really hard-boiled, like more like crime, like city, like in the streets kind of movie. And so I think that's, to me, is one of the biggest accomplishments is you reset the context for the character for so many people.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that, there had been some criticisms of the Burton and Schumacher films, that those movies were all about the villains. And this was the first movie that you could 100% say, it is about Bruce Wayne. It's not even about Batman. It is 100% about Bruce Wayne. It's his story. It's his journey. And that was refreshing in 2005.
Yeah. No, really, it was one of those movies that... when people went in to see it, I think they went and saw it as a Batman movie, and it wasn't what they thought. And it was like, this was great.
Yeah.
Like, and it took it really. There was like, it was earnest. It was like, oh, Batman in the real world, and how it would work if this guy actually made all this stuff, and you get to see all the him making his like gauntlets and his ears and everything like that. To me, it's. Sometimes people don't like to see the behind the scenes of it. It was interesting to me. I don't want to see 7 movies of that, but it was kind of cool seeing Batman work on this stuff in the Batcave. And
that's a lot of batteries to make.
That was the one thing. I'm like, Bruce Wayne's got to have a factory somewhere where you can just stamp them things out. He's like working on them. Maybe that was the mold. I don't know. I would be grabbing every battering I throw. So, anyways, so after that, Batman Begins. When it ends, you get that little tease for the Joker. At that point, I lost my mind in the theater. I didn't go into this movie spoiled. The only thing I got spoiled on was Ra's al Ghul's turn. I don't know if anybody else gets spoiled on that.
Sorry for spoilers, guys.
Sorry, spoilers for 2005. You know how Ducard ended up being Ra's al Ghul. I was spoiled because I kept reading news online.
I got that spoiled too.
Yeah, I was like, oh man. But that was the only spoiler I had. But that Joker reveal got me excited. Like I couldn't wait because this movie didn't break the box office.
No, it did okay.
Yeah,
but it had legs. I remember when it opened at like 42 million.
Yeah,
and even then I went, oh, that doesn't seem great to me.
Yeah,
but it played through the summer, and then especially through home video, like people came to it. I actually had the Joker thing spoiled for me, unfortunately, and it wasn't like overtly spoiled. It was more like, oh, and when you see the last scene, you're going to be ready for the sequel. And I was like, well, what else could it be?
Vicky Vale.
Oh,
Vicky Vale's back. Hey, so
Chase Meridian.
Makes
a triumphant return.
They're like, you missed her. So going into The Dark Knight. Now, this 10 years of The Dark Knight is coming up in July, which makes me feel really old. Like, The Dark Knight is 10 years old, man. So that movie, I think, out of all the Batman films, I think that's the one people's that's like the godfather of superhero movies is The Dark Knight. Dark Knight fans, where are you guys at? Make some noise. All right. Okay, we got it back. You didn't like Begins, but you like The Dark Knight. You're my guy today. I'm like, where are you at? You are. You're the fan that I'm focused on.
Blue rises and falls on you.
Yes. Let us know. because I'm curious as we get further into this discussion. So, The Dark Knight, that's the movie, man, that lit the world on fire. And I don't know if it was because they got excited about the end of Batman Begins, or if there was a little bit of curiosity due to like the tragedy of Heath Ledger dying. I don't know what it was. What were you guys thinking about with Dark Knight?
I think it was all those things.
Yeah.
I think it was a perfect storm. It was a first movie that surprised a lot of people of how good it was.
Yeah.
Leaving on a not quite a cliffhanger, but leaving on a note that made you excited for the next one. So there was that, because I remember there was excitement around the teaser trailer before Heath passed away.
Yeah.
There was the idea of this new Joker, and people love the Joker, so there was a lot of excitement around that. And
love that Joker.
And love that Joker. And then you add that layer of the tragedy around Heath Ledger that just created this whole aura around the film that like people had to see it now.
Yeah.
So I think it was just all of those things that came together to make it this pop culture moment.
How'd you feel going into it, Justin, with the change to the Joker? Because this is a pretty big shift in what people knew the Joker to be when you go Cesar Rivera, you go Jack Nicholson.
Yeah. I think there was a big like fan debate between like makeup and perma white type of thing. If that's what you're asking about,
Because we had that debate.
If you want to like my thoughts, chime in if you feel the same. I'm a big proponent of perma white. I just like him being bleached out in some crazy accident. Like, I think that's how I prefer the Joker. But
you don't see the Joker applying his makeup.
Yeah, to me, that takes a lot of work. Like, you can do that every day, like.
If you're committed.
If you're committed, I can do that crazy.
Pretty committed to
my wife does.
So, yeah. There you go. So, yeah, it didn't make or break the movie for me, but it did.
I know. I think it was more expectations there, because I think pretty universally everyone's going to agree once they see that first scene with him, you're like, oh, okay, actually, I'm good.
Yeah.
I didn't even know the term perma white until Batman-On-Film. I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah, that was a thing.
I had no strong feelings. I was like, it's makeup, sure, whatever. And
Hashtag perma white.
And then like years later, when I got to know you guys, and I've heard these mentions of like, oh no, it was this big debate that I was oblivious to. So.
That was crazy. All right, so going in, let's talk about perma white. Let's talk about Heath Ledger. Like, again, if you want to talk about like iconic portrayals of a character, Heath Ledger has, you see it today, you'll see it. There's probably a Heath Ledger Joker today at Comic-Con Revolution, like walking around.
There he is, I saw him.
Yeah, there you go. We're always here.
Every convention you'll see a dozen.
There you go. Hang a left at the Deadpool and you will find a Heath Ledger Joker somewhere. So, what do you guys think about Heath Ledger's Joker?
Oh man, I was intrigued by the look. Honestly, I wasn't one of those people that was kind of up in arms about it. I'm like, yeah, sure, let's see what it is, because I liked Heath Ledger as an actor already. Mm-hmm. And then, man, like the opening scene, I remember seeing that like attached to another movie in IMAX or something a couple months before. Oh, yeah.
There you go.
Brightened my experience a little bit, at least. And so I think that got me excited. And then what clinched it for me of like, oh, this is probably one of my favorite portrayals ever was the magic joke. Magic trick, rather, with the pencil. And I'm like, oh, no, I'm on board. This is incredible. This is my favorite.
Nice.
Well, I'll be honest. Like, I had no issue with the casting of Heath Ledger. When that was announced, I went, "Oh, okay, cool." You know, when I saw the first photo, and to this day, I don't like that first photo. It's just gross. Like,
it's like sweaty.
The one that's like super close up and dark around the edges. I was just like, ew. And then fortunately, once I saw more of him, I was like, okay, good. He's still got the purple suit. He's still got the green hair. It's never been my favorite look for the Joker. I don't like messy Joker. I like clean Joker. It's weird.
I like a dapper Joker.
Yeah, exactly. I like a dapper Joker. But same thing. You see that performance in the movie, you're all in. You're like, all right, this is this Joker. Mm-hmm. He's hooked me. It was so different than what I think we expected and what we'd seen in the past. But I think it just grabbed us all. And that's, to your point, that version of the Joker is just everlasting now. You see him everywhere. You still see him on merchandise. You see constant cosplay every Halloween. So he made this indelible mark on the character and the performance. There are just these great subtle moments throughout the film that still blow me away. I love he's giving that speech to Gamble, and he gets interrupted, and he kind of just gives this annoyed look of like, it's just this tiny little moment that's not on the page, but Ledger just killed it.
Yeah, a lot of nuance in what he did. One of my favorite part is it's known that he improvised the clapping when they're giving Gordon, when they say, "Hey, Gordon, you're now the commissioner," because the commissioner was killed, obviously. When Ledger just started clapping in his cell, that part's great. I love that part.
Yeah.
So, anything else about The Dark Knight? I mean, we can do a whole thing on The Dark Knight, but we got to get going into other stuff.
There's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't think he got his due, but Two-Face is probably one of my favorite Bat villains, and I thought the design was really cool.
Yeah.
I think Aaron Eckhart did a good job.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't love where it ended up, honestly.
Mhm.
It's just not my preference when bad guys get killed off in these kind of movies. I'm like, oh man, I wanted that's done. That's all I got of him? Okay, I guess. But he looked awesome.
Yeah, that would be one of my complaints for Begin, that Harvey Dent wasn't in Batman Begins. I really feel that he should have been there, just to kind of
could have been a good
give you a little bit more, but...
It would have been cool, but in the theater, in Batman Begins, when that DA gets shot,
Yeah.
I went, oh, that opens up a spot for Harvey
Yeah,
Dent.
yeah.
I immediately went there.
There's
But
a spot.
it's a great point, and it's something that I think the Nolan films did so good. All three of them is a lot of times people go, "Oh, you can't have too many villains. It's throwing everything in."
Yeah.
But Nolan showed no, you can have multiple villains as long as they're all in the same story.
Yeah.
Like the Burton Schumacher films were. They had some of these contrived ideas of how to bring these villains together, and then you look at Begins and how Scarecrow and Ra's al Ghul work together, and then in The Dark Knight how the Joker, his mission was turning Harvey. These multiple villains can work together if you write it well.
Yeah, and I think one of my favorite parts of the Nolan trilogy is the Scarecrow. He is a thread throughout the whole movie. I mean, it's bigger in Begins, but seeing him there, it really was nice to have that. He was the connectivity, I think, overall, is having him come back. He was always such a crowd leader. So, okay, let's get into the most divisive of the Nolan trilogy, I'm going to say. The Dark Knight Rises. Where are we at with The Dark Knight Rises in here, guys? All right, here we go. Yeah, there are parts of The Dark Knight Rises I really like, but overall, I feel like that movie to me, I felt like it sold Batman short and the idea of the legend. Where are you guys at on that?
I think I wouldn't say it's bad, but I would definitely say it's at least problematic with how it, the way I've put it in conversations before with people where I kind of land is it seems like everyone else in the movie out-Batman's Batman. Like, Batman is supposed to be the guy that's 2 steps ahead. I feel like more than a suit looking a certain way, more than a certain, saying, more than a certain Batmobile, I can let go of all those, but Batman is supposed to be the dude that has the plan that you didn't even know you needed.
Yeah.
And he is just he's on the receiving end of things like that multiple times throughout the movie. And so I don't think it's inherently bad. I just think, as far as what I understand Batman to be, it just seems problematic his feels kind of dumbed down, I guess would be the way I put it.
Yeah.
The whole point of that, and you have people like, hey, maybe you should research some information about this Bane guy. No, I'm just going to go find him. Okay, well, say it that way. Hey, I need to figure out this whole thing and go to, escape from this jail. I'm going to do all these things. And all you had to do was punch Bane straight in the face, and that's what solved it. And so just...
He's wearing the mask. Go for the mask.
Yeah. I mean, Catwoman Selena Kyle was more Batman than Batman in that. Just the way she could own people and kind of maneuver and manipulate the situation.
She was great in that movie, though.
She's fantastic.
Fantastic in that movie.
So there's a lot to like, I think, still in the movie. I think just the big kind of brushstrokes like that. And then I think, like you said, just selling the legend of Batman short. The idea, if you spent any amount of time with Bruce Wayne in whatever medium, the idea of him hanging it up after, how many years was it?
10 years.
Yeah, that just does, it was eight, I want to say.
Oh, 1 year.
And it was he was doing it for a year and a half, and then took a break, and he's like, "Oh, I'm too old. I'm done." I'm like, "Wait, what? You barely been doing anything."
Yeah, that's the whole point. He wouldn't have given up after Rachel's death. He would keep fighting for what she stood for.
Yeah, so I think I expected something different coming out of The Dark Knight. I'm like, "Oh man, Batman's on the run and has to keep doing this even though he's wanted. That's awesome."
And then
it's like, no, there's sad beard Bruce Wayne just hanging out in his mansion in his robe. So that's
I like sad beard Bruce Wayne. That's my maybe get that action figure. Sad beard Bruce Wayne with little leg little leg brace. So Andy, I know you love The Dark Knight
I have very mixed feelings on The Dark Knight Rises, and when I walked out of the theater in 2012, I so badly wanted to love it that I talked myself into loving it.
Okay.
That I was like, no, it's perfect. There's no way Nolan could have blown it. No way. And then the years since, there are certain pieces where I'm like, you know what? I tried to talk myself into it. It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
And there's, like Matt said, there's so much to love. Like, I love Bane in that movie, and I love Catwoman in that movie. Even though no one refuses to call her Catwoman, I'm going to call her Catwoman.
Yeah, it's Catwoman.
So, like, the two of them, Hardy as Bane and Hathaway as Catwoman, are so good and so entertaining that makes the movie completely worth watching.
Yeah.
But I think Nolan was so determined to make a final Batman story that he jumped through so many narrative hoops that didn't quite make sense to get to a place where it could be a final Batman story.
Yeah.
Like the retirement is a great example. Oh, he's been out of action for 8 years. Is there a great reason why? There's not a great reason why, but to make this a final story, we've got to go with it.
Yeah.
You know, and there were things like that were like, they didn't quite justify the table setting that they had to do to make it a final story. You know, like, you mentioned, he was in action for a year and a half total, but then they have a scene where he's at the doctor's and they're like, oh, you're shot. And it's like, why are you shot? You've been sitting on your butt for 8 years.
Yeah.
Like, that 1 year of being Batman shouldn't have had these repercussions. Like, so there were just certain contrivances written in that weren't justified.
Yeah, especially the entire way he gets, out of that situation coming in the plot is new leg brace. Like that was it. Like there wasn't
why bother?
Yeah, like why even do that? So yeah, that was hard. There was some great scenes. I love the part of Bruce climbing out of the pit. I thought that was cool because it was this great moment of like, yes, Batman's making it out. And then, there is some issues people have with it, like how did he show up to Gotham? Like I don't care about he's Batman. He gets to Gotham. Like that's not nothing I need information on. But I just feel like there was some things in the movie that just didn't work for me. John Blake did not work for me.
Yes.
Yeah.
What? I guess he just always Blake from Inception. So God.
Yeah, John Blake. I know he was supposed to be an amalgamation of all the Robins, but it just didn't work. Any John Blake fans? Any John Blake fans? One guy. Okay, and that's all right, man.
Yeah.
There's some John Blake cosplay, unless it was a security guard out there. I don't know. I'm not sure who that was. But yeah, like I remember in my theater. Huh?
Yeah, Orphan.
Yeah, Orphan. Yeah, you can tell. That's my biggest problem with Orphan Edition. So. How does John Blake roll up and he's like, because you're Batman? I can tell because you have a look on your face. And he was like, that's it? Like, Clark can't stay away from this cat because he's going to, like, call out all the superheroes, like, secret identities. I just did not get that angle on that character. And, I mean, they could have done that and they could have written that and not so sloppy, I think.
I think that's exactly it. That's another perfect example of like, okay, the idea was there.
Yeah.
That like he could figure out who Batman was. That's fine.
Yeah.
The reason they gave was so flimsy. Yeah. You had a fake smile once. You must be Batman. Oh, obviously. Like, no one else has ever fake smiled in their life. Only Batman.
And Bruce didn't even try to fight it. He just like, you got me, John Blake.
Hey, I need to practice my smiling.
Yeah. So, all right. So I don't want to dump on the Dark Knight Rises. In the end, there was emotions, and Alfred made you cry. I think it was just my expectation going into it. I never thought this was going to be the end. I always thought, hey, this is going to be like James Bond. Batman's going to continue to go on, and someone else will jump in. And so, which takes us to, gosh, this is weird because it's one of the most contentious like Batman kind of films in the world, right? Would you say so? Like being on Twitter, it's like no one talks about movies anymore. Yeah. A movie comes out, no one's going to talk about it. Batman versus Superman still gets talked about, and so we're going to talk about Ben Affleck. Where are we at with our Ben Affleck Batman fans? Where are you guys at? Yeah. When he got announced, I remember like I still get the history on Facebook. It's like Ben Affleck's Batman. All these people hit me up. I was fine. I was like, okay, I think that could be good. Ben Affleck was removed from all his terrible films by that time. He was a good director.
Yeah, he already reinvented himself.
Yeah, and so to me,
he's totally coming on the heels of Daredevil already.
Yeah, it wasn't like, G Leagues, Ben Affleck. It was like, Hollywood and
fresh off Jersey girl.
Yeah. So it was I was pumped for it, and so what are you guys thinking? What about Ben Affleck Batman?
I love Ben Affleck.
Yeah,
Batman. I do. I think
Affleck
he's
forever.
great.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan. I already like Ben Affleck, so when he was cast, I thought it was a great idea. I thought it was he had this resurgence. He has shown his talent behind the camera and in front. He had just won Best Picture for Argo, so he was in a great spot. They wanted to go with this older Batman, and Ben had a look where he could look older or younger, so he was flexible. So I was all for it, and even after seeing the movie, I thought he was great in the movie.
Yeah, I really loved him in the movie.
Yeah, I agree. Like of any of the issues to have with that film, I think he's some of the least of them.
Yeah. I do feel like
that's a nice way of putting it. Right?
I feel like even despite all that swirl that happened when he was announced, and a lot of people were like, "Oh, this is going to be so bad." After the movie came and went, even the people who don't like the movie kind of admitted, "Okay, but he is a really good Batman."
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you have to kind of, when you look into that movie, I think it helps me at least to kind of separate the representation of Batman as a character and Ben Affleck's portrayal of Batman. I don't know if it makes sense to split those apart, but I think you have your certain things like Batman shouldn't have guns on the Batmobile. He definitely killed some of those dudes, or you know what I mean? These arguments, and which I think are like, sure, let's talk about that. But I think like his portrayal of what they were trying to attempt, like I thought it was pretty.
But you have to also the context of that movie. This wasn't our classic like Caped Crusader. This was Batman driven to a different he had different motivations at this time. He was so like probably hurt on loss, and Robin's dead, and he's 20 years removed from what we kind of think about who Batman is. And I get it's probably like a deconstruction that we didn't want to see, but I understood where Batman was in the movie. I even understood where Superman was in the movie, but as far as his portrayal in that movie, I like what Affleck did.
It was a deliberate choice. Yeah. Whether you like that choice is completely up to you. But that was the version they were going for. That was how Zack Snyder pitched it to Affleck. It's this is a Batman you've never seen in a movie before.
Yeah.
He's been doing it for 20 years. He's bitter, he's jaded, he's lost his way, and this whole movie is about him finding his way again.
Yeah.
And that's the movie.
Yeah.
You don't have to like the movie, but that was the version they were going with.
Yeah.
And for that version, I think Affleck gave a good performance.
Oh yeah. And then at the end of the movie, he's remorseful. He even understands the whole like Martha rescue scene is Batman back in action. That's like the best Batman scene ever, right? Who loves the Martha rescue scene, right? That's awesome, right? He's just handling all of the business, and so right. What was that?
Still kills about people.
Oh, that guy shouldn't have had a grenade. Don't bring a grenade to a bat fight, right? So okay. So then we move into Justice League, and we'll touch on this really quick. I feel like that's where there's parts where Affleck is there, and I feel like some of the reshot stuff, you can tell he's like, why am I doing this? Not that he doesn't want to do it, but I think there's just so much going into the making of that film. He just wasn't there, and so we don't know. Here's the thing, right now for the next Batman movie, we don't know if Affleck's in it or not. Every day it changes. He's in it. He's not in it.
I'm done listening until I see a trailer.
Yeah, we don't know.
Whatever.
So you guys want Affleck back as Batman?
Yeah.
Okay. Who wants a new Batman? We got it's kind of split. Half and half. All right.
That's interesting.
Yeah, we're gonna. We're just getting that. So we can move into some questions. So, come on. Yeah, what you got?
I got a lot to say about this, but I don't dominate. First of all, how come they not a panel on Superman? It's the 40th anniversary of the Donner film. It's his 80-year anniversary. But we're talking about Batman. I love the character, don't get me wrong. But I also feel like some of you people here and you guys are kind of the reason why the DC universe is the way it is, because there's so much emphasis on this character, there's not enough love for other characters. And when I saw BVS, it broke my heart to see Superman get beat. It should have went down like that, because some people just can't get over Frank Miller. That was one man's interpretation of his character as we got this in this movie. Had I been a director's chair, Henry Cavill would beat Ben's ass. I'd have showed him. I'm going to show you why I'm son of Jarrell. Why I look like the joke. What is this, utility belt? Get out of here. The film was so biased towards Batman and didn't give Superman any respect.
Yeah. I can understand where you're coming from, but unfortunately I'm on Batman-On-Film, not Superman-On-Film. I would do a Superman panel, but I understand what you're saying.
But see,
I think that
there's so much emphasis on him as a character.
As DC fans, like I'm a fan of the entire DC universe. I run a Batman podcast, but that doesn't mean we don't love Superman.
Yeah.
Superman is terrific. Man of Steel is my favorite movie of 2013. I freaking love that movie.
I'm hoping for a Man of Steel sequel. I mean, that should happen. That needs to happen.
Yeah, it's criminal to see what he was able to do within the confines of Justice League as a movie to say, man, he should have a sequel and have a chance to be able to be Superman again.
So just because we love Batman does not mean we don't love Superman. Yeah. We do.
I want to see Batman get his ass kicked one time as Superman.
It'll happen.
Yeah, I'd be up for seeing that too.
He's humiliated.
All right.
Two parts.
Yeah.
Do you think that DC/Warner Brothers kind of screwed the pooch in not having a RDJ type character that Marvel is with Christian Bale to keep with the whole Dark Knight, thread and then go into the whole whirling clusterfuck that is what is going on right now. That's part one. Part two, to piggyback with what you're saying, I think that the Batfleck is kind of the amalgam of what the original Horrible trilogy. We won't talk about the third movie, but fourth movie. But Michael Keaton Batman with Frank Miller, and then that put that amalgam together. So I just want to know what your thoughts are.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, obviously, I think the movies would help from a little more connection to something that was already incredibly successful. Yeah.
But to your point about like, we wish there was like a Robert Downey Jr., Tony Stark type character that unified them. It did feel like that was going to be Ben Affleck. The fact that he showed up in Suicide Squad was pretty good evidence of that was the plan. But then everything went crazy, and then unfortunately the plan changed because Ben had issues in his personal life, and then there were a lot of the issues, of course, with the behind the scenes of the films, which really messed up the plan. And I think that we all would have loved to have seen things be a little more solid and a little straightforward. Yeah. And now there are rumors that maybe Henry Cavill's going to sign a contract to be more of that unifying force. I'd be all for that. But yeah, I think your point is valid. Like, unfortunately, it's been a bumpy road, and hopefully they will get their ducks in a row, and we'll see something a little more consistent.
Yeah. I see what you're saying about having the connectivity to, like, maybe, we were talking about maybe if the Nolan universe kind of folded into this. There was rumors are, it's always hard to find out, like, is the rumor true or not, but I remember when this was going on, I know Warner Brothers wanted to fold the Nolan stuff into it, but he just didn't want to, and that's when Ben Affleck was brought on. It just wasn't going to work well. Christian Bale would have only come back if it was Nolan, but that was, once that happened, it was kind of obvious we're going to recast the whole deal. So, yeah. But I like what you're thinking about, kind of being like all iterations of Batman. I mean, we all kind of have this idea of who Batman is anyway when we go into something, and so you just kind of take all that, baggage, not in a bad way, but you bring all that with you when you watch a Batman movie. So, Wonder Woman.
Alright, so I've been wondering, like, how could they remodel the costumes on the Batman versus Superman? I mean, like, I don't think the owner will be happy that all of his superhero characters got remodeled.
Oh, you mean like how they just upgraded the costumes for Justice League?
Yes, and for Batman versus Superman and Man of Steel.
Well, you gotta, Batman always upgrades. Batman, every day he's got a suit. From Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. He's got a snowsuit, a sand suit, an underwater suit. Batman's just gotta take care of business and also toys.
Yeah. I feel like every time they always redesign the looks and it just comes with it. Sometimes you're like, oh, it wasn't broken, no fix it. And sometimes you're like, oh, good, I like that a little better.
Yeah.
Notice how they did not upgrade Wonder Woman's suit.
No.
Because they were like, nope, we nailed it.
Perfect.
Just leave it be.
Yeah. Girl knows how to dress. What are you going to say? Mm-hmm. She had it right the first time, so. All right, so we'll get you, and then we have to be done. All right.
So I've heard a lot of conversations. Who's your favorite Batman? What's your favorite Batmobile?
Oh.
I haven't often heard, what's your favorite representation of Gotham? Because I happen to think the TV series Gotham is kind of nailing it right now.
Okay.
The Arrows, and then I think Tim Burton was great, but I was wondering what your take on the best Gotham?
Best Gotham.
Oh, best Gotham to me is 89, man. For me, 89 is the best. That's a skyscraper, sir.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
Batman 89.
Hands on first, man.
Yeah, I absolutely. Like, the best versions of Gotham is a character, Gotham has a personality and a soul, and I think that 89 nails that. Yeah. So
it's like hell erupted and burst through the ground of Gotham City. I think that's what I love.
Yeah, I'm just gonna be boring and agree. I'm not gonna fight right now.
All right, and our last question in the back.
Who's your favorite Bruce Wayne?
Oh.
Okay, I'm gonna go out on a limb here because I've actually talked about it because I think he's a horrible, horrible Batman. I liked George Clooney as Bruce Wayne a lot. Thank you. I usually don't get applause for that. But yeah, and there was just something really smooth, like really, I think, suave about the way he played the character where I'm like, this guy could pull off this level of tomfoolery and not let anyone know because they're just going to be charmed by him all the time. Yeah, that's
It's good.
Yeah.
I'll go with Christian Bale. I love Christian Bale's Bruce Wayne. And when I said I walked out of Batman Begins blown away, that was one of the things that made me so happy is that they really nailed that this public face of Bruce Wayne, of the billionaire playboy who doesn't care about anything, and Bale killed that in those films. And so, yeah, I love his version.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you. I think Bale is probably the best Bruce Wayne just because he nails Batman.
Mm-hmm.
He nails being public Bruce Wayne, and he nails being private Bruce Wayne. So he's really playing three characters there, and he did such a good job, being like, hey, I'm Bruce Wayne, and then like being like the actual, like the real dude. And my favorite Bruce Wayne scene is when he's going down the hallway in Dark Knight, and he takes apart that gun, bam!
Yeah.
And that's so awesome. So, all right, guys, thank you so much for being on our panel today, and we would love for you to check out our shows. Check out Holy Batcast. So how can they find you online?
Yeah, it's Holy Batcast everywhere. Wherever you get your podcast, Holy Batcast, 2 words. Same thing on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, just Holy Batcast. We're the only one.
All right, Matt.
Find Let's Go Comic Show.
Awesome.
All
those places.
All the same places.
And then Batman on Film at Batman on Film on Twitter, and then BatmanOnFilm.com. So check us out. Thank you guys for being here.
Thank
Thank you for attending Comic-Con Revolution.
So there you go. That was that. It was a fun time hanging out at Comic-Con Revolution. If you have the chance and you are in the Southern California area, they already announced the 2019 show. So Comic-Con Revolution is strong, and it takes place also in Florida, and they just announced they'll be doing a show in Chicago next year as well. So it's really good. It's comic book focused. We all like San Diego Comic-Con, but it gets a little packed. It gets a little crowded because of other things that draw attention there. But this is a comic book show. So if you love comics, check out Comic-Con Revolution. All right. That being said, we are done. My name is Justin. Let's go.